so well. I've just been flying through bosses, having a good time, and then Welcome back, Classic Crew, to another Dark Souls 3 journal. As I get close to the end of my pledge, there are only 2 bosses that remained, and it is time to talk about the DLC, and as well as about the Nameless King. So let me take you on a journey of the last stream, which continued the previous stream where I slayed 5 bosses, and now I killed another 3, and saw the last 2. So I've seen every boss in Dark Souls 3's base game, and I can now share whether I am ready or not to go through the DLC. But first, let me take you through the adventure last time. So when I last left off, I made it to Archdragon Peak, where I got kind of pummeled, but it was exciting because there was still so much of the game. I could have went to the Grand Archives, I could have went and explored the peak, and I think there was another area I could have explored. But I figured, let's stick to the Archdragon Peak. I hadn't quite made it into the keep yet. So I did that, and I was greeted by a beautiful, massive wyvern, and I was like, we're into Monster Hunter again. As I took like 3 swings on this thing's legs, and when I saw the health bar not move practically, I was like, this is a gimmick fight. All right, where's my storm ruler or whatever it's called to like knock this one out? So there's this big bell right behind it. I was like, all right, it's got to be this bell. So I go there, I smack the bell, nothing happens. He toasts the whole area. I was like, okay, that's not it. So I keep trying to explore the area. I found a bunch of goodies on one side. On the other side, I found a path with mobs that were like ganking me, and I had to kind of avoid them. And eventually I learned that I could use the dragon to like toast areas to clear the mobs and then might make my way through. So it was pretty good. Like, I feel like this moment kind of clicked where I was like, oh, this is a gimmick fight. I have to like find a way to kill it. And it was even more obvious when the wyvern was not moving and was just shooting fire. I was like, oh, this is probably something I have to run around until I found a weak point, and then we exploit it. And that's exactly what it was. So I made my way around the keep. I was killing mobs. Sometimes they were killing me, but you know. Oh no, come on. And eventually I made it to the top where it's like clear that you can jump right onto its head. And I just like took my lunge and messed up and completely missed and died. And then I had to do it all over again. And finally I slayed it in 1 hit, which a lot of people I saw in the chat were saying they did not like this kind of boss fight. Personally, I did like it. It changes up the formula a bit. It's more about an environmental boss than a like one-on-one boss, which I'm okay with. And it's all about like, yeah, just dodging this massive boss while fighting the mobs and like making your way around the castle. I like that stuff. And it's a nice breath of fresh air from the usual, oh my God, I got to roll this way, I got to roll this way and not get hit. After that, I just continued exploring, making my way to the top of the peak, seeing some cool dragons, mobs and stuff. I'll talk about the mobs later because I kind of had my moment of how this clicked to play Dark Souls 3. But anyways, I made it to the top to a huge bell, which was very ominous, and everybody's like, ring the bell, ring the bell. There was a bonfire right next to it, so I was very happy to do so. So I ring the bell, and like a storm starts. I was like, oh man, like I'm clearly in an optional area. This is super like doom and gloom. What is going to happen here? And so I walk through the white wall, and we're on a bunch of clouds, and there's like this dude who just flies in on a dragon, and it's called what's it called? The King of the Storm. I was like, all right, this looks tough. And it wasn't too bad. Like, I died a lot because I was figuring out how to move it, or how to move around this boss. The hardest things, at least with the King of the Storm, was the fact that there's like no shadow on the clouds. So I had a lot of problems with my depth perception, and the camera was a huge issue because I didn't realize at first there was a difference between targeting the flying creature or the guy on the flying creature. And depending on what it's doing, you want to target one of the two, but one of them is not good. I forget which one. So learning that, you know, fighting with the camera, fighting with the depth perception, that was a problem. And then the third one was I was trying to do my butt strategy where I just like stick to the butt, and then it would fly above me and just like launch a bunch of fire that was really hard to dodge. I'm like, okay, this ain't the way. So I went more into the Monster Hunter dance. And I was like, all right, it's doing like it's Breath of Fire this way. We roll through here, we smack, the Valkana, the typical Valkana move. And then the guy like swings, I go through the swing and then smack. That fight, the King of the Storm, was a really good fight. But of course, This game has already taught me that at this point, there's always a phase 2. And I was like, all right, what is the bullshit of phase 2? And so the king of the bird thing dies. And then the guy comes out. I'm like, of course, I got to fight the guy. But I was shocked to see that this is the Nameless King. So I had heard of the Nameless King before I got into Dark Souls. Like, I had heard legends of this terrifying boss called the Nameless King. So I knew that there was such a boss that existed. I didn't know in what context he existed in the Dark Souls universe. As far as I knew, I thought it was going to be the final boss of the game. So to see him here as the King of the Storm in an optional area, I was like, oh, okay, this is like probably the optional, like, hardest boss of the game, DLC excluded, because I'm told the DLC is harder than the Nameless King based on a poll I made on Twitter. So I took one swing at him and he just destroyed me. I was like, I've got so many other things to do. I'm going to come back. I'm not ready to commit like a whole stream to just bash my head against this thing. So it's part of my pledge. I got to fight him. But it's going to take a lot of patience, a lot of careful, like, okay, we rolling now. Okay, what are his swings? And then just notch away at him. It's going to take, I'm going to die a lot. And it's going to take a lot of practice to finally beat him. But the King of the Storm, outside of the whole camera thing, it was a fun fight. And I really hope that the Nameless King follows that. All right, so that is that is one boss down. And then the other one, I just took a peek. So after that, I had 2 areas left. I was told that there was one more optional boss in the Consume King's Garden. So I went back there and I had completely forgotten about that area because the last time I killed Ocelot, and then I saw I got the what is it called? The gesture, which got me to Archdragon Peak. So I went back because I remember that there was a wall that I could go through, and I didn't explore because it was all dark in there. I was like, I'm not doing dark spaces. So I went back there and I was like, why does this place look so familiar? I'm like, wait, I've seen this like character placement here. I've seen these maps. And then I was like, this looks oddly familiar, like the beginning of the game. And of course, for some reason, that's what it is. It's like a darker version of the beginning of the game. So I'm like, oh, what's going to be in the place where I fought my first boss in this game? And lo and behold, I came across a boss called Champion Gundyr. And I was so excited for this fight because I really liked the first boss of this game. And I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, you're probably just going to be a lot harder, but I'm ready for it. And I love these like big guys and the big wind up with the swings. I'm like, oh, I can roll right through your swing. What caught me off guard is I'm like, all right, where's the butt? I'm going to stick to the butt because that's where I do all my damage. So I was on his butt and then bam, he just kicks me out of the way. I was like, wait a minute, knights don't kick. So that caught me off guard. I was getting juggled with the like kick up and then kick away. And then he just charges at me. So I almost had him on my first attempt, but the kicks really threw me off. And that tank, I'm going to call him a tank. He is super aggressive. So the aggression and my little bit of panic rolling cost me a few matches, but I think I got him on the second try and I was having a good time with him. Like, he was hitting me a few times, but it was so like intense and scary. I was kind of laughing and just because I knew how to fight it. It was just a matter of getting comfortable with the fear, which is something that you got to do with a lot of these bosses. Like, some of them are so intimidating, so aggressive, but as a player, you know how to, like, it's just timing and dodging, and it's about getting comfortable with that fear, and that does not come easy. So that is the biggest challenge of Dark Souls, is coming to sense, getting comfortable with your fear, and then playing with that fear clearly there, but you're just like, I'm going to ignore it, and I'm just going to do my rolls, and I'm going to do my slashing. So Champion Gundyr fell. I think I got a new ring from him, which gave me, it's like a locked, I don't know. It's a ring that has 3-4 boosts on it. So that's my new ring. I love that thing. And then I only had one place left to go, which was the Grand Archives. And this place was a little bit grindy. So many more mobs. And this is where I think I started playing this way in the last stream, but it's all about picking and choosing which mobs to kill and which ones to run through. And that became even more obvious at the top of the Grand Archives, right before the princes, the 2 princes. So this part was just really kind of like, I got killed quite a few times just trying to figure out my way around the Grand Archives. There's not much to say outside of, yeah, some of the mobs were fun, some of them ganked me, and I just had to figure out their placement, find my shortcuts so that I didn't have to run through everything, and just slowly progress. It was actually quite comfortable. I made it to the rooftop, and I actually saw like, okay, this is clearly where the boss is. There's like this big like temple. And then I looked behind and there was like a tower. I was like, oh, what's in that tower? Let's go see that first. And I'm glad I did, because that's where I found the hunter's ring, which gives +5 dexterity. So I think I had like a milk ring or something. It gave me +3 dexterity. I'm like, nah, give me the hunter's ring. I'm a hunter. And then there was like all these like angel knights all around it. I was like, no, I'm not fighting this. I am jumping and I am running, because that is the Dark Souls way. Why fight things when you can run away? And also, this is kind of highlighted in an anime I'm watching called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. If there's one thing you learn from part 2, is that JoJo does not need to fight every big thing. Running away is a valid strategy, and I have to remember that. So thank you, Joseph Joestar, for teaching me the ways to win at Dark Souls. So made my way. Okay, yeah, so there's a bridge and a path that you go up the stairs, and at first I was like, oh, I'm like taking on like the Lothric army or whatever. Okay, we're gonna start killing everyone. And then like there was waves of knights and archers coming. I'm like, you know what? This looks really hard. This looks like I'm gonna die a lot. Like, it's gonna be frustrating. How about we just run through it, hope that there's a bonfire, and then just focus on that and getting to the boss. So I did that. There was like a shortcut that went to a bonfire, and my first encounter with the Lorien Elder Prince went pretty well. I killed him on my first go, and then Lothric, the younger prince, gets on him and he's like, all right, let's go again. I was like, oh, of course, phase 2. And I was panicking a lot more because it was a little bit more intense. So I killed Lorien again, and that's when I learned Lothric heals him. I was like, no, don't you heal. And I was like bashing on him, and I was one hit away from killing Lothric, and then I panicked and I died. And that was the closest I would be to killing the twin princes until an hour later. Like, that fight was pretty hard. Specifically the two princes ganging up on me. The Lorien Elder Prince fight, I got so comfortable with that. At one point, I was actually going through it without getting any damage. I was able to kill him pretty easily, but it's when they would combine that there was just so much stuff coming at me. Like, he would throw magic at me that I'd have to dodge, but then while I'm dealing with that, the other dude would teleport and like come in with a big sword on me. All of that stuff was like just really tough to deal with, because you're basically dealing with 2 attacks despite you have 1 target to deal with. So I was trying to use the pillars to try to like have the magic attack get blocked by the pillar, so I could then focus on the melee user that came to me. And through trial and error and a lot of perseverance and rolling and sticking to the butt, I finally killed both of them in just like, it was a slog. It was very difficult to kill them, but I finally did it. And at the end, like, I was getting angry, but it was still a good fight. I was still enjoying this fight. Like, I've been enjoying a lot of I have to say, I've been enjoying the fights of Dark Souls 3 compared to Dark Souls 1. Just overall, I much prefer how the bosses are mechanically. And now that I know kind of the way to fight them, which is roll, stick to the butt, slash, it's just a good time. It's about like learning the rhythm, the tempo, and once it clicks, it's fun. Then after that, I had my final Lord of Cinder, so I went back to the seas and I was like, all right, what are we doing here? Like, I guess we're going to go see what the final boss is looking like, because I know I got the Nameless King, and what's the final boss? So made it to the Soul of Cinder. I was like, okay, it was the end of the stream, so I'm like, let's give it a shot. Beat the Soul of Cinder's like first health bar, and then of course he gets like souped up and the music changes. I was like, oh man, now what? His whole health bar recharges. I was like, of course it's 2 phases. Why has it got to be 2 phases? His first phase was hard enough, although was it really hard? Because I did kill it in the first go. I think I always get like antsy and scared with the second phases, and that's what screws me up, because I barely did any damage on the second one. He was just like comboing me to death. And I was like, oh my God, this is impossible. How am I ever going to overcome this? But when I was rewatching the VOD to make like this impression video, I was noticing how like actually kind of predictable his moves are. And I was just, I think, maybe too caught up in my head, because I was like, why was I rolling so early or so late? Like, when I was watching my gameplay after, I was like, this is quite doable. Why was I playing so bad? So I hear that the Soul of Cinder and Nameless King are the 2 hardest bosses in the game, the base game. So my next stream is me attempting to finish my pledge by killing these 2 hard bosses. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to be a struggle. I'm going to, I think, attempt the Nameless King first, and then I'm going to get the DLC before finishing off the Soul of Cinder. Now, regarding the DLC, a lot of you have asked me to do it. And I have to be honest with you, I am a little bit terrified of it, because I hear the DLC is only harder, and that's starting to get out of my comfort zone. So I am not going to pledge the DLC for my own sanity. I still have my pledge to finish. I still have to kill the Nameless King and the Soul of Cinder, which to me is like, ugh, that's going to be tough. But I will go in and take a look at all the DLC bosses. I will attempt to kill them all, but I will not pledge. So if at any point I'm just tired of this game and I just want to move on, I will, because I'm not, you know, Dark Souls 1, I already shared how it didn't click with me. Dark Souls 3, I am enjoying it more than Dark Souls 1, but I am not in love with this game. It's not a game that I necessarily want more of. It's a game that I want to proudly say I've completed and move on. It's not a game I want to like stick around with. So going into the DLC and like really doing everything in there, I'm curious, but I don't want to commit to it. So we'll see what the DLC has to offer. I hear that there's a lot of cool lore stuff, a lot of cool bosses. So I look forward to seeing what's there. So next stream, hard bosses. That's all there's left. Just a lot of hard bosses to kill and to see. So join me on twitch.tv/HeyJOfficial if you want to check out any of that. And hopefully I will be completing my pledge soon. And then we're going to be heading to a whole new journal. Who knows what it is. So I'll see you on the next stream or on the next journal. And until next time, Classy Crew, keep it classy.